In this exercise, we'll be using regular expressions to extract special text of interest from the text email. So this is an extension of the string exercise that we've done before, in which we looked for sensitive information defined as being numbers or emails. But now we will be able to express the patterns much more compactly using regular expressions. Here is the piece of text that you want to operate on. Now we want to write regular expressions to extract from the email the numbers, including social numbers and the phone numbers, as well as the license plates. Okay, so I'm going to do each one of these categories individually. So let's start really easily by looking at the social numbers. The very first step is to import the regular expression package. And the next, I'm going to express the social number as a pattern. Now, in our case, it's a pattern of 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits separated by a dash. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to compile it as a sequence of digits. I can specify how many times they're repeated. I'm going to repeat it as many times as needed. I'm going to repeat it as many times as needed. And then I'm going to repeat it here as many times as needed. So a bunch of digits dash a bunch of digits dash a bunch of digits will be a social number as defined by this regular expression. And then I'm going to find all in my email, and it's going to be this number. Once again, the function here is independent of what you're looking for. The function here can be find all. It can be substitute if you wish to substitute this thing with blanks in your email. You can do that. It will blank the social number. So the function is independent from the regular expression. The regular expression specifies the pattern, and you have access to multiple functions, including matching, which is kind of like start with of the string, including search, which is kind of like find or index, including split, including find all, which finds all, and including substitute, which is kind of like replacing. In this exercise, we're finding all because we want to extract, but I just want to emphasize that it's not necessarily that we always do find all. It depends on the task. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The next one is phone numbers. Now, phone numbers here are slightly complicated because we have international phone numbers such as this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a pattern to try to match this phone number and make it as general as possible so that it can extract more phone numbers. So my pattern now will be the following. Well, let's have this number. I'm going to copy this number here just to see it. Let's try to match this number and also be as general as possible when we do it, right? Because if you overgeneralize, you may kind of pick, things which are not a number, right? So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to compile it as, here's what I want to look for. I want to look for the plus sign, and because plus has a special meaning, I'm going to escape it. Let's make it a raw string here. And then I'm going to look for 1 digit repeated. Okay, let's actually try it and build it incrementally. I'm going to find all email here. So you can see that this one picked plus 44. Now after plus 44, we have something repeated, but this thing can be either a space or a parenthesis or a digit or a parenthesis. So if I do plus repeated, if I do space and digit repeated, that's not going to match anything. I need to repeat the parenthesis here. So I can do space and then parenthesis digit repeated, but that's only going to match the, well, did not match it anyhow. So because you need to match this parenthesis, I need to escape it. Okay, so I need to escape the parenthesis. So that's going to match the 0 here. But then I need to write another one for the digit repeated. But that's defeat the purpose because I'm now reconstructing this whole thing again. So what I'm going to do here, after I go in with the international code, I'm going to put all of this in one group. I'm going to say, well, once you know the international code, you can have a space, you can have a parenthesis. I don't need to escape it now because it's within a bracket, or a digit repeated. And that's going to be this number here. Now, if you want to have a general one, you can do something like this. You can put the plus here inside this thing. If you put this plus here inside this thing, the problem here is that it's going to match these spaces, all of these spaces, and it's going to match all of these numbers here. So you have to be careful not to overgeneralize your regular expression, because if you overgeneralize it, it's going to capture many things that you don't want to capture. Okay. Now the last one, we're being asked to capture license plates. And license plates, if you look at them, they're a sequence of digits or alphanumeric characters in dashes in between. The problem is that some of these sequences, two of these sequences have characters dash digits, but this one has something else in the beginning, which is digits repeated. So let's start easy and let's make it more general. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to compile my license plate regular expression as the following. I'm going to say, okay, if I look at this one, I'm going to start with letters repeated. So I'm going to say, okay, well, let's do this here. I'm going to start with A to Z repeated. And then after I repeat the A to Z, I'm going to have digit repeated. With a caveat here is that this license plate here has digits plus another character of the A to Z repeated. So if I do this, if I don't deal with this, let's see what I get now. I'm gonna get this one extracted successfully. This one is, half of it is extracted, and we know that. We know this one is problematic because we have this preamble here. We'll deal with it. But this one, it did not capture A, it only captured BMT216. And that's because after we have the dash, we may have an A to Z as well. So what I'm going here, I'm going to say in a group, it may be a digit, but it also may be A to Z repeated. And this will deal with this one. Now we still haven't dealt with this one, which is the character dash repeated. Now the problem here, if I do a \d digit for a digit repeated and dash, is going to capture this one, but it's going to fail to capture this one and this one because they only have 2 components, not 3 components. So the key here is to make this whole thing optional. I'm going to say, okay, you may repeat a digit or the dash multiple times, but instead of being plus, I'm going to make them optional, 0 or more times. So it makes this preamble optional. A digit or a dash may exist, may be repeated, but may not. And then we proceed with a bunch of characters repeated and a bunch of characters and digit repeated. And this will basically extract the license plates from the text. Okay, so now we want to blank out these sensitive information, and we have seen how we are doing it. We can do it using the function substitute, but we need to substitute in each one of them. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write a loop that goes over all of these regular expressions. Social, phone. We forget the emails, I think. Okay, we forget the email address, so let's do the email address and then move on to the blanking out. So the email address is very similar to the one we've done last time. I'm going to create my email. I'm going to call it email underscore because this variable here is called also email, so I don't want to override my text here. And the email address here is an example. So this email address has something repeated. It's going to be an alphanumeric repeated. But after that repeats, it may have an optional, sub username such as james.bond. Whatever. So it's going to be dot or alphanumeric repeated again. And then I'm going to have at, and this one can be a star here, it doesn't matter here because let's make it optional here, at, and then I'm going to have the domain name, alphanumeric repeated, dot, I need to escape the dot, and I need to do the domain type 3. Let's make this whole thing reverse string. Okay, so let's see if that extracts our bond address here. For the dot here, and that's the email address here. Okay, now let's blank out the sensitive information. So I'm going to go for each one of social, phone, email, and license plate. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to substitute. In this example, we're not going to worry about matching the mask with the length of what we are replacing. So I'm going simply to assign email to the result of substituting that regular expression, regex substitute the stars here with email. So basically I'm going for each regular expression, substituting whatever matches with a bunch of stars, and at the end of the day I can print the email again, and you can see it blanked out all of these sensitive information.